Hey everybody, and welcome to NFL Nexus. Today, we are diving deep into a fascinating 2026 mock draft for the Indianapolis Colts. Now, this isn't just any old mock draft, folks. This is a blueprint for what could be a franchise-altering year. For General Manager Chris Ballard, the 2026 season is absolutely make or break. The pressure's on, every single decision is going to be under a microscope, and frankly, the players they pick in this draft could decide the fate of this team for the next 5 years. There is a ton to unpack here, so let's get right into it.
So, right off the bat, we have to talk about the elephant in the room. This is the massive challenge facing the entire Colts organization. How in the world do you win the draft when you don't even have a first-round pick? I mean, think about it. First-rounders are the gold standard in the NFL. They're the premium currency, the blue-chip prospects you build your team around. So what do you do when you don't have that golden ticket? Well, your entire strategy has to change. The margin for error just shrinks to zero. You have to be smarter, you have to be sharper, and you have to find guys in the second, third, and fourth rounds who can step in and play like first-rounders from day one. It's a massive challenge, and it's going to take some real draft day magic to pull it off.
And look, let's be real here. The pressure on Chris Ballard is absolutely immense. The source material we're analyzing today literally calls this arguably the most important draft of his tenure. This isn't just about adding a couple of decent players to the roster. No. This is about validating an entire team-building philosophy. This is about proving that his long-term vision for the Colts is the right one. You know, the mandate from the fans, from ownership, it couldn't be clearer. They want to win, and they want to win now. They're not asking for developmental projects. They want guys who can step onto that field in week one and make a tangible difference. Every single pick has to be a home run.
Okay, so with all that pressure mounting, what's the game plan? Where do you even begin when you don't have a first-round pick? Well, you go back to the absolute fundamentals of what wins football games. It always starts in the trenches. You build from the inside out. So the first part of this blueprint is all about fortifying those lines. We're talking about getting bigger, faster, and stronger on both the offensive and defensive sides of the ball. The idea is to build a dominant foundation that can control the line of scrimmage and, by extension, control the game.
Can you just imagine being in that Colts war room on day one of the draft? You're just sitting there, hands tied, watching almost 50 of the best college players in the country get picked by other teams. Names you probably had circled on your own board, guys you would have loved to have, just gone. One after another. The wait must be absolutely agonizing. But then, finally, late in the second round, the phone rings. The Indianapolis Colts are officially on the clock. And with their very first pick of the 2026 NFL Draft, they make a huge move to address their single biggest need.
So who do they get? They get Malachi Lawrence, a defensive end from UCF. And this guy is an absolute beast. He feels like he was built in a lab specifically to fill the hole on this Colts defense. The source material calls him a demon against the run. And when you look at his 11 tackles for loss last season, you can see why. But here's the thing. He is so much more than just a run stuffer. The dude generated 40 pressures and racked up nearly 20 sacks in his last 3 years. The vision here is just beautiful. You pair his raw, explosive power with the super polished technical game of last year's first-rounder, Laiatu Latu. It's like having a sledgehammer and a scalpel kind at the quarterback at the same time. I mean, good luck to any offensive line trying to stop that.
But wait, there's one more thing about Lawrence that just screams Chris Ballard pick, and it's this number, 9.94. That's his relative athletic score. Now, if you're not familiar with RAS, just think of it as a player's athletic GPA graded on a scale of 0 to 10. It compares their combine numbers, like the 40-yard dash and vertical jump, to every other player at their position who has ever tested. So a 9.94 is, well, it's just off the charts ridiculous. It means he's more athletic than 99% of defensive ends to ever enter the draft. We're talking about historic, rare athleticism. And we all know Chris Ballard absolutely loves those elite athletes. Lawrence isn't just a great football player, he's a physical freak. And that's the kind of guy Ballard just can't pass up. All right, edge rusher, check. They've got their guy on the outside. But they are not done working on that defensive line, not by a long shot. Moving into the fourth round, the focus stays right there in the trenches. The philosophy is you can never have enough big, disruptive guys up front. You want to build a wave of talent that you can rotate in and out to keep everyone fresh and just wear down the other team's offense over 4 quarters. It's about depth, and it's about relentless pressure. So with their fourth-round pick, they go out and get Xavier Harris, a defensive tackle from Ole Miss. Now, this is what I call a smart 2-for-1 pick. It helps you now, and it sets you up for the future. I mean, let's face it, the Colts' current duo of DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart are absolute legends, but they're both 32 years old. And Father Time, well, he's undefeated. You have to plan ahead.
So you bring in a guy like Harris. He doesn't have to be a hero on day one. His job is to come in, learn from two of the best in the business, give them a breather on Sundays, and then when the time comes, he's ready to take the torch and anchor that line for the next 5 years. It's just smart, long-term thinking.
Okay, so the defensive line is looking pretty beefed up. They've added a potential star on the edge and some quality depth on the interior. Now it's time to flip over to the other side of the ball. But guess what? The philosophy is exactly the same. Win the line of scrimmage. Because what is job number one on offense? It's protecting your multi-million-dollar quarterback. End of story. So in the 5th round, that's exactly what they set out to do.
And the guy for that job is Jaeger Burton, an interior lineman out of Kentucky. Now, the headline stat for this guy, the one you should write down in big, bold letters, is 0, as in 0 sacks allowed last season. That's the kind of number that'll make a quarterback sleep very well at night. And he's not just a one-trick pony. He's played a ton of snaps at guard too, so he's got that valuable versatility. Plus, just imagine getting to be in an O-line room with a coach like Tony Sperano Jr. That's like getting a PhD in line play. Burton might not be a future Hall of Famer, but he's a high-floor guy. You know exactly what you're getting. A tough, smart, reliable player who's going to be on your roster for a long, long time. Just solid pick.
All right, the meat and potatoes are done. The foundation has been laid. Both the offensive and defensive lines are looking tougher and deeper. Now it's time for the fun stuff. It's time to add the sizzle to the steak. Let's get some speed, let's get some explosive playmakers, and let's get some guys on the field who can put a whole lot of points on the scoreboard and make this offense truly dangerous.
But before they pull the trigger on a new offensive weapon, they make a classic Chris Ballard move. They get clever. They execute a savvy trade down. They basically decide, hey, we like a few of the guys who could be available here. Let's move back a little bit, let a more desperate team like Dallas jump up, and we'll snag ourselves an extra draft pick for our trouble. It's all about accumulating more assets. It's like having more lottery tickets. It doesn't guarantee you'll hit the jackpot, but it sure does improve your odds of finding a star player.
So they make the trade, and now they have to wait. They have to sit there for another 14 picks, probably sweating it out, just hoping that one of the guys they were targeting is still on the board. It's a calculated risk, a real game of draft day poker. And then, finally, boom, they're back on the clock. It's time to see if that gamble's about to pay off.
And did it ever pay off? They get their guy, Ted Hurst, a wide receiver from Georgia State. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Georgia State? Forget about the name on the helmet. This kid is a legitimate walking highlight reel. The source we're using literally calls him a playmaking machine. And when you see he put up almost 2,000 yards and 15 touchdowns in just 2 years, you get it. And here's the best part. His position coach is going to be the legend himself, Reggie Wayne. You could not dream up a better situation for a young, talented receiver to grow and develop. This pick has steal of the draft written all over it. Okay, now remember that extra 5th-round pick they got from the Cowboys in that trade down? Well, it's time to cash in that lottery ticket. This is the pick that really makes that earlier move a home run. It turns a good trade into a great one. They've already got their new deep threat receiver, and now they can turn their attention to adding even more juice to the backfield.
And with that pick, they grab Nicholas Singleton, the workhorse running back from Penn State. This is such a fantastic move because you need more than just one guy in the backfield in today's NFL. It's a brutal position. You need a guy who can come in, light a fire under everybody, and seriously compete for that number 2 spot behind Jonathan Taylor. Singleton is that guy. He can do it all. He can run between the tackles. He's a great receiver out of the backfield. The article says he adds more juice to the offense, and that is just the perfect way to describe his explosive all-around game.
But here's the crazy thing about Nicholas Singleton. The one stat that really just jumps off the page at you, 54 touchdowns, 54 total touchdowns in his college career. Let that sink in for a second. Playing against those brutal Big Ten defenses, he averaged more than a touchdown per game. That is just an incredible knack for finding the end zone. When this team gets down in the red zone, you know who's going to be begging for the ball. He's a scoring machine, plain and simple.
Okay, let's just hit pause for a second and take a step back. Let's look at what the Colts have accomplished so far. D-line, check. O-line, check. A new playmaking receiver, check. A new touchdown machine at running back, check. Man, on paper, this is looking like an A-plus draft, right? It feels like a masterclass in how to build a roster without a first-round pick. But there's a but, a really, really big one. There's a giant glaring hole on this roster that, so far, they've completely and totally ignored.
I mean, seriously, what is the plan at the safety position? Can anyone tell me? The Colts lost their starting strong safety in free agency, which leaves a massive starter-sized hole right in the heart of their secondary. That's the quarterback of the defense, the main communicator, and through 5 rounds and a bunch of key picks, this mock draft has given them crickets.
Nothing. Not even a whisper. This doesn't just feel like an oversight. It feels like a massive, intentional gamble.
And when you look at who they actually have on the roster right now, man, it gets even scarier. On one hand, you've got the guys currently there. Kwanye Thomas, who has talent but is coming off a season derailed by a really serious medical issue with migraines. You've got Hunter Wohler, a very promising rookie who is trying to return from a major season-ending injury. And you just never know how a player will bounce back. And then you have Nasir Adderley, a guy who literally came out of retirement after not playing a single down of football since 2022. Every single one of them is a giant what-if. And on the other hand, the mock draft solution to all those question marks is nothing. To just hope for the best, I guess? That is playing with fire in the NFL.
So with that enormous question mark just hanging over the entire draft class, let's see how they decide to finish things up. We're in the late rounds now, so the strategy changes. You're not really looking for immediate starters anymore. Now it's all about taking calculated risks. You're looking for lottery tickets. Guys with one elite trait, usually incredible athleticism, that your coaches can maybe develop into a solid player or at least a great special teamer down the line.
So in the 6th round, they go right back to the Chris Ballard well, another athletic monster in BYU linebacker Jack Kelly. He's got that stellar 9.70 RAS and was super productive with 10 sacks last year. Then in the 7th, they'd take a couple of interesting shots. First, a developmental quarterback, Cole Payton, who's a really dynamic dual-threat guy you can stash and coach up. And with their very final pick, they finally add to the secondary a little bit with a depth corner in Sayar Wright from Nebraska. All of these are logical, high-upside picks for where you are in the draft. No complaints here.
So here's the interesting part. Despite that massive, undeniable, glaring question at the safety position, the overall conclusion from the source article we're breaking down is overwhelmingly positive. At the end of the day, this draft class adds a ton of talent, a ton of athleticism, and crucial depth at multiple key positions. The final verdict from the source is clear. This mock draft undoubtedly boosts the roster in a big way.
And that, my friends, brings us to the final, crucial question that this whole explainer is about. Is this the right blueprint for success? By going all in on the trenches and offensive weapons while consciously taking a massive risk in the secondary, have the Colts actually done enough to become a true Super Bowl contender? Or will that one unaddressed hole, that massive question mark at safety, prove to be their fatal flaw come January? That is the enormous gamble that Chris Ballard is making, and I really want to know what you all think. Did the Colts get it right with this strategy? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And hey, while you're down there, if you enjoyed this deep dive, do us a huge favor and subscribe to NFL Nexus and give this explainer a like. And one last thing before we go, if you're looking for a great gift for any football fan in your life, help support the channel by checking out our new coloring books. They're perfect for kids, grandkids, even adults. You can find the link right in the description or just scan the QR code on your screen now. Thanks so much for watching.